Welcome to a video covering the Rex Matriarchs as a whole. Whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Ha! Finally a boss I can kill on release, right guys? Right guys? Crying Raksha release day. In all seriousness though, these bosses are in a great position. There's something in between God Wars Dungeon 2 and Araxor next, I suppose, in terms of difficulty. That being said, it is release day, so that might change over time. I think they're fairly easy to learn. They have a few mechanics you need to watch out for, but once you know how to avoid those, or to just DPS through them, they're a breeze. But that is with high level weapons. Without those weapons, it does seem like these bosses have quite the high defense level, especially if you consider that I was still splashing a lot using chaotic weapons or attuned crystal weapons with the Elder Overload Golem active. So Elder Overloads, no curses, on augmented tier 80 weapons, and I was splashing quite a bit. So I would personally say if you are going to do these bosses and you want relatively fast kills, overloads and curses are definitely something I would recommend. As for drops, I got 3 drops. The Heart of Berserker that sold for 10-ish mil, the Spear Tip which sold for 50 mil I believe, and the Heart of the Archer sold for 23.4 mil. Nothing too crazy, but definitely a nice little bit of money earned right there. As for that safe spot AFK guide for the melee one, that one was removed because they hotfixed it about 2 hours after the release. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that video is now private because it no longer works. If you do want to AFK one of the Rexes, I do have a melee guide for the green one for you to AFK if you do have the required things. As for a little mini guide on how to do these bosses, the melee one is fairly straightforward. You pray melee or you soul split against him. He does have one attack that hits extremely hard, and that is the Frost Wave. If you see this coming, you'll see like a tornado of air or frost coming at you. You quickly pray magic and that will negate some of the damage of the hit. You can also debilitate in advance. Then after that, all of your abilities will have a longer cooldown. You avoid this by going on top of the little magma holes that appear on the ground. But you want to pray melee and use devotion if possible to reduce damage taken, because otherwise you will take big hits. I died here on purpose, by the way. And that is how you remove the frozen effect. And other than that, the fight is fairly straightforward. If you have a high tier weapon, you should only encounter that frost wave once per fight. Just think of yourself as a piece of bacon in a pan and you're trying to warm it up because it's frozen. The ranged one is really straightforward and probably the easiest if you have soul split and curses. You literally can AFK this one. And it is easy. You can even AFK it with lower tier weapons, although you might struggle a little bit more and therefore require a Scrimshaw Vampirism. You can AFK this one even without a safe spot. Now this one switches between mainly ranged attacks, and then every now and then he will do this melee swipe, but the main thing you want to worry about is the poison attack, the big AoE blobs he throws on the floor. Now you can suck these up by standing on them with either Irrit Incense Sticks, Venom Blood Perk, or Anti-Poison ++, and if you suck these poison blobs on the floor up, he can no longer heal from them later when he siphons from them. If you have low DPS and crappy gear, this will be a high priority because the heals can be very, very big. If you're AFKing though, you will usually suck up one of the 2 big blobs, and it's not that big of a deal because you're AFKing. Also, if you're way too far away from him, he will actually charge you, so watch out for that because it's a big typeless damage hit. The lightning one is perhaps the hardest out of the 3 simply because he hits the hardest and sometimes his attacks are a little difficult to avoid. He also has a sneaky ranged hit that can hit you for like 4.5k, and it can catch you off guard, and the hit is faster than the actual animation, or it seems that way. It's a little annoying to res, so you need to be ready. It's always after the ground quake lightning attack, which you can use devotion for to completely avoid all damage. Devotion, pray magic, and you can vibe and do damage. He also has one more attack, which is a massive beam that deals typeless damage, which you can see charging up by like the blue bar, slowly getting shorter. Once it's done, it will come down. If you get hit by it in the first tick, it actually gives you some overcharge buff, which allows you to surge indefinitely. But you don't want to get hit by it any more often than that because it will deal typeless damage to you. And that's pretty much it. If you know how to pray a flick or res the ranged hit, if you know when to diva or move out of the way of the lightning quake attack, you're pretty much good to go, and you can do this one quite easily as well. It will take you a little longer to get used to, especially if you're not used to moving around when PVMing, but once you do, it won't be that hard. Now, from pretty much every single kill, you're going to get dinosaur bones and damaged dinosaur hide, and I would just chuck the damaged dinosaur hide in your invention auto-alch machine, or just alch them because they are worth 5k each. Now, I did end up aggroing all the Rexes together and running around seeing if the specs would do anything against the other dinos, but I assume you're supposed to use them on the other dinosaurs, the actual buffs, and they don't really deal damage to each other. Also, I don't think there's any point to taking them all on at once unless you want a challenge or something. You're probably better off focusing on one, either by AFKing them, or two, if you want to switch between two armor sets. Three might be a little bit excessive and will require you to either use hybrid armor or bring along 3 different armor sets and weapons. If you don't need much food here because you're a high level player and you're using Soul Spit, then more power to you. But if you're not, you're probably better off focusing on 2, killing one when the other is down. And that's pretty much it in terms of like a little quick guide to these 3 different bosses, because they are quite different in terms of mechanics. Overall, I'm a fan of the update and I think it's a good addition to the game, although I do suspect that Slayer is simply going to be more profitable for mid-level players than this boss in the future once all the items have crashed in price. But we'll have to see. I'm looking forward to testing out that new spear and perhaps getting a pet from one of these 3 bosses. With that being said, we have come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below and maybe you consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.